This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online platform that helps you find a therapist that will match your needs. BetterHelp offers live video chats, open discussion, conversations with real therapists in real time if that's what you need. I personally love it and have used it now for almost 2 years. I would really recommend, if you need someone to talk to that is not in your family or your friend circle, that you reach out to betterhelp.com and you will receive 10% off if you use my code BGP. So again, that's betterhelp.com/BGP to find the right online counselor for you. Hi, welcome to Big Girl Pants Podcast, where we talk about health, wellness, careers, parenting, relationships, and everything in between. I am your host, April Melton. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to Big Girl Pants Podcast. We have a return guest today. Turns out that his episode was so successful that I decided to bring him back. Even though this is redemption for when you came on initially, you came on twice.
Oh, I've had 2 fire episodes.
Fire.
But it's just one of them was actually recorded. The other one was just a really good conversation that took place in a room.
In front of microphones with headphones on. So yeah, welcome back. What do you want me to call you today?
What do you mean?
Well, last time you were like, don't put my whole name out there, so I can't call you by your full legal name.
No, hold on. Well, Ben is probably just fine.
Don't call me by my government name.
Yeah.
No,
my name is a mouthful.
My name is a mouthful. So we'll call him that. Ben is just fine. Okay, great. So what's up?
Man, things have been pretty good, I guess.
Yeah, since the last time. When did we speak? In August? I think it was August.
So.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
So I just kind of finalized everything on my side. Ashley, the person that I talked about last time, like my therapist.
Yeah.
I've been continuing to see her. That's been pretty awesome.
Good.
My 35th birthday was in February, so I felt
happy birthday.
Oh, I
35. Holy shit.
I know.
Okay, but wait. 2018? So you were what? 30? I've known you for 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know that's a long
The
time. The evolution
of Ben.
There's a lot, right?
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
5 years is a long time.
Okay, and I've been able to do some good work with it. Before my birthday, I wanted to get in shape. Mm-hmm. So I started working at this, there's a rock climbing gym by my work.
Shout them out for sure.
They used to be called OSO, now it's the Bouldering Project. Love it.
Great. I took Chloe. Super fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really, really great people. Love the vibe there. And so I really wanted to start getting back into shape just to see like what I could do. So I hired a trainer in January. Mm-hmm. It was bananas. Like,
listen, beyond fucking bananas. Okay. This shit is like annoying at this point. He looks like an extra from the movie 300 and he's all natty.
yeah.
Like, this shit is annoying as hell. This fool's drinking a Coke right now. And he's like, if I lift up my shirt, I have a fucking 12-pack.
I have just 6, I think, but they're cultivated. I told
Cultivated
people,
6.
Yeah, I
A
said
strong 6.
Yeah, I went from looking like a guy that could run 3 miles to looking like a guy in the 300 movies in like a month.
A month.
And like she was KO is the name of my trainer.
Yeah.
Dude, I have 2 women in my life that have helped me get right.
Ashley
and KO. And
my therapist and my trainer.
Yeah, exactly.
So you went both directions, right? Because like some men, they'll just go the trainer direction and they'll just develop in the gym and spend and invest all their time getting physically fit, but they don't necessarily work on the mental piece.
Processing emotions, dealing with yourself, looking at reactions. Yeah.
So you're the total package, Ben. Is that what you're saying?
minus some personality flaws. Sure. I would say I'm like
Some
well-rounded.
personality flaws. Yeah. Okay.
I think, and like me too on the dating side, one thing that I think therapy helped me really dive into is when I became single, I started to notice, and I'm sure some people feel this, that the way that I explained it to my therapist is I just felt like my market value wasn't what I thought it should be. Like based on the reactions, the responses that I was getting from people or the lack thereof, I was like, hey, something's like off, you know, like I don't know what it is, if it's me, if what I need to look at.
You're like, what type of energy am I putting out? Because this is the energy I'm getting in return.
Yes.
Okay.
So then that's what I dove into is like, okay, what type of energy am I putting out? Like, What does that look like? Where does that come from? And so the big shift for me, and this has been like massive, is I viewed dating as like the job, like going on apps, talking to people, like that's the work.
Sales.
Right? Yeah, sales. Yeah. So then I shifted and I'm like, for you to be the person that's going to attract the right people, you just really need to be invested in what makes you happy. So like do the stuff that you like to do. So that was being more active. That was like being outside more, you know, doing more fun stuff, working out more. Right. And then it was like, I also like to shoot pool, which you know, so like that's what I do probably at least.
Yeah. Okay. Not only does this guy like to shoot pool, so a little bit of a backstory for those maybe new listeners or something. This fool, I met Ben on, I don't know, was it Bumble or?
Bumble.
Okay.
I think.
Either one. Back in the glory days, my single days. And we went out and we had drinks at 60 Vines and then we went to play pool at this bar behind 60 Vines.
It wasn't intended. We were leaving 60 Vines and there was a pool and I was just like, hey, like there's probably a pool table over there.
That.
Do you want to go shoot some pool? It was not planned.
You want to go shoot some pool? I'm a complete and utter shark. Would you like to see me run 2 pool tables at the same time?
Look, I just like shooting pool and April and I joined on one table.
Benjamin was in his prime fuckboy days. And when I tell you he was running 2 tables at the same time and also like managing to like check in with me, run 2 tables, have conversations, blah, 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 like killing it.
Yeah, it's a good, okay. That's another thing. So, that was like our first date, which was fun and also a great story. So when you talk about like things that I like to do, one of the things that I love to do is shoot pool.
Yeah.
So then I started going back to the same place that's kind of by my house. Shout out Old Crow. You'll probably see me there if you go. So then I started to build kind of like some friends there, right?
Yeah, because you're there all the time.
I'm there all the time. So you've got like a little bit of a network. And then obviously I'm not terrible at pool. So you win some games, you make some great shots. People start to notice. That's what I realized from dating. It's about putting yourself in a place where your market value is high there. And so like to be in a situation where I'm doing things that I love, there's other people there that know me. So that kind of backs up like your social marketplace, right?
Yes.
That instantly became like a massive shift. So now I'm in this place where I feel good. I'm able to get a lot of attention and talk to the right people. And that was kind of like a shift. I think the more that I started to invest in myself, what I started to notice is that it set a standard in my life for like how happy I am. Like I know that if I invest in things that I love, this is how happy I am.
Yeah.
And the biggest clarity that I got from that in the dating world is that now I had something to compare to when I meet somebody else. So not that these people aren't great, but like here's my life, right?
Yeah.
If spending time with you doesn't really pull me away from the things that I already like to do, no offense, it's not a comparison, it's no judgment against you, but just for me, this isn't where it's at.
When you say pull you away, do you mean you want the things that you're doing with this other person to equal the same level of happiness, satisfaction, and entertainment, or?
It means that like, where's my heart at? Like the girl that I'm dating now, man, like in the first week that we met, I think we hung out 4 times.
Nice.
And I just knew that like naturally that's where I wanted to be.
Okay.
You know? And so I think previously.
Magnetism a little bit,
but I think previously I wasn't investing in a lot of things in my life. And so when a girl would come along, she'd be awesome, right? She's fun. And so it's like, because I didn't have a self-standard set, I'd be like, oh my God, that's great. Let's go chase that down. Let's go spend more time with her, right? And so I think
seeking validation elsewhere versus investing in yourself.
Well, I also think too, it's just, I didn't have things I was already focusing on. Like, hey, this is what's important to me.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes along where they're like, well, hey, this is important to me, but I still want to spend time with this person.
Yeah.
That was a really good validator for just the selection process, right? Like, because you start to see like, when do I get pulled away? Now, at the same time, life's about balance. So you have to understand. And like the girl that I'm dating now knows that like, hey, every Friday night, I'm going to probably be playing pool. I don't mind changing that up, but like
most Friday nights,
I need one night a week where I'm going to go shoot pool. So if we have plans on Thursdays, I'll shoot on, if we have plan on Friday, I'll shoot on Thursday or something.
Yeah.
but it's like, I already kind of have, hey, I know what makes me happy. I know what I want to be doing. And
Yeah. You look forward to those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even one night, I think after our first date, I was going to go shoot. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go shoot. And she was like, yeah, I could come with. And I was like, no, like, I think this time it'll be good.
Well, because boundaries.
Boundaries.
Whoa.
And the second time, like it was our second or third date, she came to the Old Crow and hung out with me while I was shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for me, when I shoot pool, if I'm happy and relaxed, nobody can touch me. And so like having somebody there that I
know,
already
that you're like trying to impress, you like them, and then you're bringing them onto your stomping grounds. It's like your place.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just nice because it's like, I like her.
Yeah.
So I want her to be there.
Of
you
course.
know?
Yes.
And I get to go kiss her after I win a game and all that kind of fun stuff. And
Right.
so like she perfectly fit into that. And so I think for me, that was a good indication like, hey, we already get along well. We align on so many things. And she's okay hanging out in a place like the Old Crow for 4 hours while
Yeah.
I'm like shooting pool and we can still have fun doing it. And so of course I'm worried. I'm like, hey, because of my ex,
Yes.
who, you know, we talked about last time.
Yes.
If she was at something like that, she would have made my life fucking hell. She would have just been pissed off and
Miserable.
sitting there and miserable and
Yeah.
like trying to
Stank face.
yeah, trying to give her misery via like, you know, optical osmosis, right? Like just make me miserable.
Not octical.
Yeah. So I was like, I was worried about her being there because obviously I'd been in such situations where, hey, I'm doing something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm sure my partner's miserable.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I love it. This is amazing. Like,
Yeah. She gets to see you in your element.
yes.
Which means not only does this guy have a job, right? But he also has a life and he has hobbies and he has things that he's good at. He has a passion. You're very good at pool.
yeah.
So watching someone that's good at something is entertaining.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, if you're a beginner, you guys can do those things together.
True.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's cool. That's
so,
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why are you here? What are we going to do with this?
I mean,
Sitch.
okay, if people don't know, April and I probably have one of the most, I wouldn't say spicy, I would just say heated.
Spicy? Sometimes it gets spicy.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
heated, sometimes spicy.
We disagree often.
Yeah. So I think April and I always like communicating about different perspectives, especially from the relationship side.
Yes.
Because I think you can give me a good perspective, obviously very different from what I have.
Yes. Which
know-
I appreciate because I love, similar to the show that Sauger and what's her name? His co-host, Breaking Points, right? So they are complete and separate opposite sides of both of the political spectrum, but you and I are going to be opposite sides of the relationship spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So like, and you're someone who can eloquently express their thoughts and, you are a thinker and forever curious, which is exactly what I am. So like some people are a little more stoic, right? They don't have as many opinions or they don't care. They're just like, yeah, it is what it is. Like that's how it is, whatever. You and I are like, can I get to the net? Like, can we get all the way through this shit so we can figure it out? And I think for me, that stems from, you know, a genuine curiosity, but also like I'm obsessed with finding out how people think and what makes people tick. And I love to strawman and steelman pretty much every single argument. There was a show that you and I were discussing. It's called Couples Therapy. It's on Showtime. Oh. And I watched it all the way through when I was on maternity leave because it was like so intriguing. And like I was just like glued to the TV the whole time. And when you started watching it, I was like, all right, this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
So like, obviously this episode, you and I are just going to kind of like discuss different perspectives on different things. But going forward, we will obviously continue the discussion. Some of our episodes will be longer, but we're basically going to dissect and discuss all of these episodes.
Yeah,
and it's going to be just a series that we call either something similar like couples therapy or the breakthrough sessions or something like that.
Yeah. Because I think from watching it, and also my experience with like marriage counseling, which I was a huge fan of. Like,
Yeah.
and I'll say that to the day that I die.
Well,
If
you're a
you-
fan of therapy too in general, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think a fan of therapy, specifically couples therapy, because it can show you like, what are your reactions? How does that mesh with your partner? When you talk about how someone thinks, you have to talk about how they perceive things.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what does leaving a note, you know, that,
Right.
or like XYZ, how can I perceive something to be this? And you can think it's something totally different.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how your partner kind of thinks, you don't necessarily sometimes always know how to translate things to them.
Yes.
And so watching the couples therapy piece, it just gave me such a reminder of, one, how important certain pieces are, and two, man, when we watch shows like that, or if I watch, reality shows that are around dating, like I will watch conversations between people and I will have to pause the show to be like, why the fuck would you say it like that? Like, why would you not just, like, I can instantly think of, oh my God, this would be a much better and healthier way to like say X, Y, or Z.
I am so bad at that. Like, so bad that I will like correct people. I'll be like, okay, do you want my advice? Because a better way to say that could be, okay, so I'll use an example. So Matt was talking to Chloe the other day. She had you'll appreciate this. She had a ice cream from Costco. She saved it. She put it in the freezer overnight. She pulled it out to let it soften, right? So she's eating it. Keep in mind, everyone listening, she's 9, okay? So she was eating it with her fingers. And Matt was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you eating your ice cream with fingers? And I was like, in my mind, I'm immediately triggered because I'm like, why do you care? Number one, she's 9 years old. She's a child. She's going to do things that children do. I said, maybe next time you can address that this is not a behavior that we would do outside of the home, but like while we're at home, as long as you're not making a mess, I don't really care how you eat your ice cream. But instead, it was, what are you doing? Are you 4 years old? Why are you eating your ice cream like that?
See, and that lacks the curiosity piece, because you can ask those questions, but just be curious. Be like, Chloe, that's kind of interesting. Like, why are you using your fingers?
Yeah.
Just
Does it taste better on your fingers?
Yeah, like walk me through the decision making.
For sure.
It's when we come in with like a set standard of what that other person's already supposed to be doing, and then we're communicating with our nonverbal communication is also communicating to this person, hey, you're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. Why are you eating that with your fingers?
The furrowed brow, the tone.
Oh, yeah.
The body language, everything. You're automatically telling a 9-year-old that they're wrong for doing something that an absolute 9-year-old would do.
Yeah. Go nuts.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want a spoon? No? Okay, cool. Figure it out.
Sweet. Sounds good. But also, why do you care?
I think it's just, I don't necessarily. This is the important piece that I have to learn, because for me, if I look at somebody doing something and there is a more efficient way to do it, that is my kryptonite. Because I'm just like, oh.
Hey, let me show you how to do that better.
Yeah. Like, and I had a parent that just would come in and automatically do things, so it's already ingrained into kind of my style. Mm-hmm. It is challenging for me to watch adults.
Oh, that
do
was
things.
your learned behavior? Was like, because someone would continually correct and improve on what you were doing, so now you do it?
Well, it's just like, if there's a better way to do it, just do it. And my brother and I are kind of the same. Like,
okay.
We don't put our egos into it.
Yeah.
Well, not all the time. So I think it's difficult for me to like watch people do something when I know that there could be a better way. But it's like I've had to learn,
of course,
especially with adults and especially with women. Like, hey,
not women. What?
Yeah, like, hey.
We're not offended. We're never offended.
Oh, man. So this is what April and I have been talking about a lot, but we'll cut back. I've had to learn to be more mindful of where people are at, because I value the most efficient process more than anything. I love simplicity. I love a good idea, and I love understanding something so well that you know the simplest way to do it.
Okay.
Maybe to other people, their autonomy is what's really important to them, or their self-reliability is what's really important to them.
Very important.
So it doesn't matter how the job gets done.
Right.
It's just that they're the one that does the job. And it's like, that's when you have to be able to put other people first and understand that, like, not everybody thinks like you.
I know. Which is the hardest, especially when you have a house full of people who do not think like you.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, ugh.
Oh.
I just want to bang my head against the wall.
Try having like never mind. We can't.
We can't say that. We can't say that. Okay, so a couple of things that you and I have discussed previously is just, and for those who are listening who may not have heard Ben's episode before, and it was kind of a long episode. I think that was like 2 hours or something.
2.5 hours.
Yeah. It was like Joe Rogan status, no big deal. If you didn't listen to the whole thing, so Ben was previously married. I was also previously married. I am now currently married. Ben is now in an exclusive relationship. We won't, whatever that means.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure that out in a minute because I'm going to ask Ben what that means. And
the male perspective.
So that's what we should call this episode, the male perspective. But through going to therapy and, I would say, recovering from your previous marriage and the person that you were married to displayed some narcissistic personality traits, and all the things that you've learned in relationships. You and I like to go back and forth about just generalities, right? Like today you sent me a video about body count, like for men and women, and how that's viewed as different. And I was legitimately cracking up at some of your responses to the body count. I was like, wow, that's such a good point that I never thought about. And like the gatekeeper analogy. And I was like, wow, that's really good. But it's similar to what you said previously too. Like, not everybody's going to think about things the way you think about them. And you also have to understand, again, that's where the curiosity comes from, is where was someone like in their life when they were experiencing or developing or going through these things. Yeah.
There's the book, I think we talked about it last time, like What Happened to You?
Oh, yeah.
Really, really good book.
So good.
Because it's like...
In Oprah's book club.
Yeah, Oprah's book club. And it just talks about how like your experiences in the environments that you're in, man, I have something in my throat. Okay.
There's some water over there. I know you might be allergic. I know there's also a Coca-Cola that you brought.
I have to drink 2 gallons of water a day. So yeah, I have to drink a lot. I think it's like our experiences in our environment are the coding and programming that, we as human beings have to use. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the way that we perceive and understand and analyze the world. And so when you look at people's reactions to things or in a relationship, right? Like Jing and I, after like our second date, I got some headshots done at work. So I updated one of the profiles on my Hinge profile.
Yeah.
And so her and I keep hanging out. I'm not even really thinking about it, but she goes to show her friends after like 2.5 weeks of us dating. She wants to show her friends like my profile.
Yeah.
And she sees that I've updated
your pictures.
The pictures
Grounded.
Since her and I have been dating. Okay. Her reaction was to think, now again, I'm going to go through her reaction. Then we can talk about maybe why she had that reaction.
Sure.
And what we did because
Bring
of it. So her reaction was immediately, we'd been getting along so well. Things had been going awesome. We're seeing each other all the time. I would say it's like all the feels, right?
Yeah.
And so I told her after our first date was so good. Like on the date, what I told her, I was like, Jing, this date has gone so well. This is why I put up with the bullshit of online dating. Like to have dates like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
before her, how many people did you go out with? I know.
50, 60?
I went out with like 100 people. Yeah.
Do you know what I call dating apps?
Terrible.
Land of the mid.
It's
just so mid.
I know, man. It's so bad.
And so her reaction, right?
Mid.
So we'd been hanging out for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, her reaction to you changing your photo.
Oh, so I wake up after a nap, after work one day, to a text message where she kind of wanted to end things.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, yeah. So she was like, and it's not that there was any ill will, but she's like, hey, just based off of that, obviously it made me a little bit upset. Makes me think we're not in the same place, right? I don't really stress too much. People don't really get to me, but I very much value this person. Very much value her in my life. And so what I said was like, hey, I will ultimately support whatever decision you decide. I think there are 2 things that you should know, regardless, right, of the situation. So what I said was, hey, I actually got excited. It's the first time I've ever had headshots. You've seen them on Instagram. They look pretty good considering most
great.
Photos of me.
They look really good.
And so I was like, 1, I just thought that they were good headshots. I wasn't even thinking about it. 2, I'm actually really, really happy with where you and I are, right? I think that where this comes from is that you feel like I'm trying to date other people. And to be honest, like in my head, we're already on that timeline and I would be ready to have that talk about, exclusivity and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, hey, I just hope that there's a way that you and I can chat for, 3 or 4 minutes. So I called her, right? After I got the text message, she didn't answer. So then I called again a little bit later. She didn't answer. So now I'm slightly not emotional, but I'm having a reaction, right?
For sure.
Yeah, because I really like this girl. We've gone along so well.
Yeah.
So then she texted me back and she's like, hey, I missed your calls. I was in a class. The class is something to do involved with something that she wants to do with me too. So it's, she still did this class thing. And
also cute.
Yeah, very cute.
What's the class?
Chair dancing.
Love it.
Yeah, she wanted to
bring it.
Yeah, and so, well, what do they call that? You know what I'm talking about?
No, what?
It's like the, You know, they have like pole dancing classes.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but with like work with a chair.
Yeah,
So it's
that
like,
your accessory is a chair instead of a pole.
yeah.
Got it.
And so,
She wants to do it with me.
she let me hold her hand last week. Things are going pretty well.
I'd say things are moving along swell.
Okay. So we have a conversation and she starts to explain to me kind of how she received it. Right. Yeah. And so she tells me that she ended up dating somebody for about 8 months, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Found out after 8 months they were married the entire time. And they'd been spending tons of time with her, right? So,
how?
Yeah,
How?
I have no idea. So obviously that was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, she didn't really date. And then before her and I got serious, she said she didn't really date anybody for like a year. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, she's probably been on a couple of dates, but never more than like 1 or 2, right?
Man, that's pretty tough. Like,
yeah. There's a lot to that. So now that I understand more about where she's coming from,
sure,
I'm immediately like, hey, Jing, I need to understand what you mean to me. So like, if you want me to delete the apps right now and just us be exclusive, I would be perfectly okay doing that. I'd be happy to do that. Right. Yeah. And she's like, well, I don't want us to be exclusive just because I reacted to something. And I'm like, hey, like, it doesn't matter what the reaction was.
Right.
You know, like,
yeah,
this is an opportunity, right? That's where I'm already at. And she was like, well, you know, I really wanted that to be something that was like cute, or maybe we have that discussion.
I know, like fun, as opposed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as this relationship has gone, we're at like a 9 out of 10 on everything.
That's good.
So I had to tell her, I was like, Jing, did you really think that we were going to get every piece of this perfect? Like, what's the expectation here?
That's true.
And so,
and now you get to like make it cute when you guys reach the next milestone.
Exactly.
Right?
And so we had plans the next day. So that's why she texted me on Friday, because she didn't want to, you know, have the talk with me while we're on this like date, XYZ.
Yeah.
So then we decided to still hang out. She comes over. We were going to go watch Dune 2, but she ended up coming over late because she had some stuff going on. So I paid for it at my place. We got dinner. She hung out, and it's like we had this great time, this great weekend, you know. And so it's like, it was a little bit scary, but it's important to be able to like navigate that space, right? And then also what I communicated to her is like, hey, Jing, because I'm learning stuff about you, you need to learn something about me. Like, my biggest fear is abandonment. And so what's funny is, before this Friday text message on like Wednesday before, her and I had a really deep conversation. And like in it, I shared with her some very, very vulnerable things. Yeah. Like stuff that I probably wouldn't tell somebody after like 6 months. Yeah. We're having in 2 or 3 weeks, because I know where she's at and how invested she is and how invested I am. And so when I got that text message,
you were like, oh shit.
Damn. It's like, damn, people don't love me, you know, XYZ.
Everybody hates me.
My greatest fear. And so that's what I communicated to her. I was like, hey, just so you know, like, this kind of triggered this for me. My only ask is, if this is how you feel about me, my only ask would be that, like, next time you and I are ever in a situation like this, I at least mean enough to you to have a conversation about it.
To not just dip.
Yeah, because then that's the easiest, right? And so she started to feel totally guilty. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this. Like, I wasn't trying to make you feel like that. I was like, Jing.
I know.
Hey, this is not what's important here. The only thing that's important that we need out of this is the solution.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we need.
Right.
Hey, next time, let's not do this and let's do this instead.
Right.
She's like, oh, I still feel so guilty about it. I was like, okay, well, the best thing that you can do for me is just forgive yourself.
Right.
Because this whole I'm super guilty energy is not the person that I like hanging out with. I just like hanging out with you. I'm not mad about it. Let's just roll with the punches.
Yeah. That's good.
Stand alone is a pretty good story.
Yeah, it's a very good story. Communication is high.
Communication is key.
It's good.
Yeah.
With this person, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And then that kind of brings us modern day. We were talking about the dating and value piece earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So like, find a place where you feel most valued.
Yeah.
And then that's usually not the worst place to also meet other people.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too, because the people who are listening to like my podcast, they're either like starting over from a relationship, or starting over from, you know, a divorce, or starting over from, you know, some point, some aspect in their life. Some are going to be like single parents, others are going to be, you know, just single, which is great because we have both. Like, you're coming from, you know, you have been married before, so you've been in a committed relationship where you, and in a relationship where you basically pulled out all the stops and you were like, I'm willing to give this 1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
To make this work. And I was in a similar situation. I obviously, got my sweet daughter from that, but like now which is a different dynamic altogether because I have the co-parenting piece, right, with that person and all of that. So I'm excited to see where this series takes us, but most of my most downloaded episodes are around relationships and around the psychology and communication of relationships. So like having my perspective and your perspective for these episodes is going to be like...
There's not a lot of spectrums we can't cover.
Right.
Like...
I know, which is great. And I'm really excited mostly probably for the times where we disagree.
Oh, yeah.
Because those are very fun conversations. Like agreeing with someone forever is kind of boring, but... Yeah.
I also appreciate that we can completely disagree about something, but still have the mutual respect between the other person. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like I know you and me could be on total opposite sides of something.
And we have been.
Yeah, but
which
still
is nice.
able to communicate it.
But we just get to take all these conversations from like from our text messages or whatever into like, on camera and also for other people to like listen and to dissect, etc.
Yeah, maybe some other things to like think about. Hopefully we give you some good strategy, some different perspectives.
I really hope so. I hope you don't hate us. I think we're going to be great though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did pretty good.
So, okay, we'll talk about the steps. Remember I said in the beginning? So he mentioned when he first walked in and when he sat down and got comfortable, he was like, I'm in an exclusive relationship. Okay, so, and you already said you've gone on like a bajillion dates probably.
Yeah.
And this is the second round. So let's keep it real. Like you've dated as an adult before because you got married.
Yeah.
So like that doesn't even count all the dates that you went on before you met your wife.
Sure.
Your ex-wife, I'm sorry. Your ex-wife. So now it's like you're dating as a 34-year-old, 35-year-old now. Mm-hmm. You live by yourself. You feel confident about your career, like all of these things. So how was that different than dating previously?
The biggest difference in dating previously is I was always dating previously trying to get other people to like me. That's the point. That's what I thought the point of a date was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just supposed to be likable and get them to like you.
Did you know that then though?
No,
I know.
That's it was because it was based on the story I'm telling myself and what I'm looking for from that other person.
Yeah.
Now imagine you actually start investing in your life. You start to go to therapy so you feel better about yourself. Mm-hmm. You're a little bit more confident. And then you start to ask your therapist like, hey, what kind of things should I be looking for in my partner? What kind of questions do I want to ask on a first date? My ass wanted to ask marriage level questions on like the second date.
So annoying.
Yeah. And so Ashley's like, why don't you just try to spend some time and see if you enjoy spending time with this person?
Right.
Like that is it. That's the only thing that they need to do on a first date.
Have you, prior to your exclusive relationship now, were you drinking a lot on first dates or drinking a lot on second dates or what was that like?
What do you mean by just having alcohol?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind having a date at a bar, but you have to have an intellectual conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, like me personally, I want to have a conversation about something so I can either learn about you, I can learn about your perspective, your backstory, what makes you unique.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing in the dating world, and this is something that you and I have talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like because of the advancements of social media and how much our lives are on display, sometimes I feel, and I'm just going to communicate from the guy's side, right? So like, don't take this against.
Bring it.
I feel that sometimes women want to feel valued. And so what they will do is lean into things that they know that like other women are doing, right? Like if it's cool to do yoga, okay, I do yoga too. And that's great, right?
I like to hike.
Yeah.
Do you though?
Okay. So what I'm saying is for me, I think for some guys, that's what they're looking for, right? Cookie cutter, or maybe I want someone that I feel like is unique.
Why are
and
they
special.
looking for cookie cutter though? Are they
Trophy wife?
But are they feeling like they need to do this, like settle or not settle, but get married and move to progress in the next phase in their life?
If you like Instagram girls, your type is not my type.
No, I get that, but I'm saying like, why? You've seen this. We've all seen this.
Yeah.
Why are people doing that?
What do you mean by doing that? Picking somebody that is just generic or doing the generic thing?
Both.
I think it's we want to feel accepted and belonged. And I think sometimes people are scared to lean into the things that make them different from everybody else. But in reality, that's where you get the biggest separation piece.
For sure.
And when you lean into that, you start attracting the people that actually like you for you. So like the real power is finding your weirdness and amplifying that.
Embracing it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So I think on dates, like if you are cookie cutter and normal, I'm not looking for the kid that was popular in high school. Not that they're not a bad person.
Oh, you don't want to date the plumber or the pizza delivery guy because they tapped out at 18?
Or the person selling you mid-level marketing off of Facebook. So I think on dates, when I started to become more okay in myself, I realized that like this girl doesn't have to like me at all. Like I'm trying to figure out if I like them.
And it's like, I like me.
Yes.
So at the end of the night, I get to go home with the validation that I love myself.
Yep.
So if this person is a value add, that's a win.
Yep. I used to lean into people that challenged or negged me on dates because I had that deep-seated need to want to be loved.
People would nag you on dates?
Neg.
What is neg?
It's just when people are back or resistant or they're not. So then it's like, oh, I have to come out of my shell to try to get them to laugh or open up.
Okay.
That was a good flipping point because I'm like, Ben, what the fuck are you doing?
Who are you trying to prove yourself
And
to?
who is this person?
Nobody.
Exactly. So once I started investing.
Although I will say I did that too.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's
I know.
so I think
Anxious attachment.
Yeah. So I think for me, like when I started investing more into who I was, I like that story, right? So I like the person that I am. I realized that I don't need this other person to like me for me to be awesome. So now when I'm on dates, I don't have to tell you the funny story. I don't have to get you to laugh. I'm trying to figure out like, what are you about? So take that whole energy shift on top of also getting into better shape and actually caring about my body for the first time.
He's a high value man, ladies. He's a high value man.
Well, no, what I'm saying is on
I'm
dates,
joking.
the less I invested in getting you to like me, the more people liked me.
Yeah.
Which I mean, once you actually really understand
sounds easier.
and it's not like I'm being an asshole.
No,
it's
I know.
just like I don't need to
Right. Yes.
letting the other person kind of come to you naturally.
Yes.
And so I think that has been far more powerful. And so dating wise, what really stood out about the last first date that I've been on, right, with Jing is that like she came as herself, which I already enjoyed, right? The fact about her is I can tell that she is so confident in who she is that there is no dissonance between like who she is as a person and what she's showing me. Because sometimes on dates, you'll get the character that people are trying to play.
They're representative.
Yeah.
Naturally.
So they create a dating profile that they think is a character that you're going to like. And then they try to
Their
go
avatar.
on the date. Yeah. And then they try to go on the date and be that character, which sometimes can be kind of weird.
And it's like conflicting because are they actually that character? Are they not that character? Is this a position that they're playing or a part that they're trying to play? Yeah.
And so I could just instantly tell because the nonverbal communication and the communication aligned perfectly. Like it was all in sync.
Yeah.
And she had a natural like energy from just her being happy and confident and, you know, knowing who she is. So from our first date, like we got along so well because we were both showing up as us. We didn't need things to be perfect. You know, we could talk, we agreed on a lot of things. And so it's like her energy stood out so much to me. And then I could tell that she obviously liked what I was. And it wasn't because I was trying to get her to like me. She just liked what she was hearing.
Yeah.
And so we naturally got along really, really well. And so I think that was like a good shift because it's a good validation point to understand like, hey, these dates are out there.
Yeah.
For anybody that has been on a shit ton of dates lately and it isn't going well.
It sucks.
One, take some self-accountability. Maybe look at how you're picking and or acting on dates.
Suck. I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, hey, the best cars on the road. The best cars on the road need a little bit of routine scheduled maintenance every now and again.
What are you? Shut up.
Yes. So that's the first piece.
Even you can touch up your personality.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
And so the second would be like.
But also dating is fucking hard. Like it's so hard because, I mean, think about it. It's a Wednesday today, right? You've worked all day. I've worked all day. Imagine you go home at night and you're like, I am exhausted. And then I have to hype myself up to go on a date. let's say I got a sitter, I spent money on that. Like the whole friggin' sitch sucks. And then you have to show up as yourself, authentic and genuine, kind, open-minded, optimistic, because this is a date, you know? It sucks.
I think, yes, but I think if that's your perspective of how you view dating, is it really the best time for you to be getting into the dating pool?
I mean, that's a good question, but I think that was probably that was my perspective after I'd already gone on like legitimately 50, 60 dates. And they were like first dates and all the vibes were like friend zone. And it was like on my end.
What was, wait, they wanted to be friends with you?
No,
or you want to be,
I wanted to be friends with them.
So then why were you picking these men for the dates? What was it about them?
I mean, the conversation was good. Like the communication was great, like texting. And then, you know, I would always do like a phone call before. And then even for a first date, I would always meet them for like coffee because I didn't drink on dates back then.
Yeah.
Like after our date, naturally. That shit was fucking terrible. Pretty sure I was so hungover the next day. Not a terrible date, just a terrible experience because we drank wine and then beer and I didn't eat any food. But like
it's called being weak.
Fuck off is what it's called. Listen here, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had signed up for the Fuckboy Olympics when I was fucking going out with you. But it was like more of like, you know, getting to know people, having conversations, etc. I treated it like sales because it was very much like prospecting. You are prospecting. I was having coffee with them. I would have a phone call before. I would have a coffee. And then if we wanted to move past that, we would have dinner. And there's only so many of those. And I know that for my like single moms out there, because that's what I was during that time, that shit is fucking taxing. Because like me today, I woke up at 3:50 today, went to the gym, worked all day. Now I'm here. Like imagine this was a date and like, then you have to show up authentically and also be kind. But then what if the person you went on a date with turns out to be a total fucking dud in person?
Okay. I have a solution for this. Find places.
What's the solution?
Find places where you enjoy, right? So like,
so you're having a good time regardless of the company?
No. What I'm saying is, so like I joined this rock climbing gym and then I started going to the weightlifting class. That's like 5:30 every single day.
Yeah.
From that, I've been able to build a community. So like, not only do I get to meet people, I get to see them every day, you know, or 3 to 4 times a week.
Sure.
Which means I can get their persona, I can get their vibe, I can figure out how consistent they are. I know what their dress code looks like. I know how they dress, not just once, but you know, over 2 or 3 weeks time. If I was a single mom, I would much prefer to leverage communities that I can create to find suitable partners than fucking dating apps.
Yeah, but you can't date somebody at your gym. I would never date somebody who went to my gym.
I'm not saying date somebody at your gym.
You're saying like referrals or somebody they know maybe or...
Yeah, or like, is there a community organization through the school, right? Are there any other single dad, you know, like...
parents, whatever, yeah.
I would think that communities and organizations would be much better vetted.
Than an app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like...
That's a good point.
You know people that know them. The main thing that I hate about dating apps, I used to try to figure out a way to call before. Sometimes girls hate that. Like I've had a girl that gave me
Girls definitely hate that.
A paragraph of like, why do we have to have a conversation? Just based off that reaction alone, I was like, I'm so done.
Just kidding.
Here's why.
Unsubscribe.
Your dating profile, all it gives me is text and photos, okay?
Yeah.
I can't tell your tone.
Right.
I don't know what your speech pattern looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it takes you to say things. Like there's so much, you know, in sales.
Yes.
There's so much I can read from nonverbal communication that's important to me.
Right.
So what I got this idea from Alex Horzai. He was like, okay, we match. Hey, I'm working till 5:30. I'll call you at 6 and we can plan a date. So then it's like, hey, what's up? What do you like to do?
I always love the phone calls. And people who are proactive about phone calls is even better. Like, that's just a check. But also, I mean, not everybody who's dating is in sales. So, like, not everybody's comfortable with a phone call. So I get that part, too. But
okay, you're not comfortable with a phone call, but you're comfortable getting dressed up, you know, shaving your hoo-ha and going out to have drinks at a bar with somebody you've never met before.
Not the hoo-ha. You never shave the hoo-ha for a first date, Benjamin. Come on.
I don't know.
You shave the legs, not the hoo-ha.
Okay, the legs. The legs are even longer, but still. Just the whole point
You don't
is
shave the hoo-ha. It's like a chastity belt. So you don't sleep with him. Duh.
Oh, God. I could say so many funny things.
It's just the truth. I'm telling you.
I wish we could pause this podcast and I could just tell her one thing and then you guys could hear her laughter after.
You can tell me afterwards. We have 1 minute.
So, yeah, we've talked about a lot. Okay,
I know.
dating. Leverage communities, because I think that vets out people a lot more than just you on an app.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And like referrals, you tell people. Same thing is like, it's funny because there's so much resemblance to like sales and for me, like recruiting, because I just connect people all the time. I for sure should be like a matchmaker in another life. I think I would be really good at that. But,
I think so too.
Yeah. But like leverage your communities, but also like tell everyone. Like tell all your friends that you're single. Tell all your friends that you're dating. And then they can start to refer people your way too. And of course, you're allowed to filter. You're allowed to say, these are my requirements or these are the things that I really like in another person.
Oh,
okay?
that's what we should
Not
have gone into
requirements,
that.
but
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't wait for that. That's definitely going to be next time.
This is what April and I talk about all the
6
time.
foot. He has to be a millionaire. He needs to be driving a Lamborghini.
Oh.
Especially Dallas, man. We live in Dallas, and these Dallas blondes, they're pretty infamous for having unrealistic expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we hit our timer, but that doesn't mean that we do have to be done, but obviously this conversation is not done, but I'm really looking forward to this series. I'm hoping that we could do something like maybe once a month, or if we can swing it like bi-monthly.
Yeah, we probably do bi-monthly. That'll
Yeah,
work.
for sure. And then from there, I mean, I do want to discuss like the episodes in couples therapy, but mostly just like the themes from the episodes.
Yes,
And the
and then-
couples that like, I want to be able to, and maybe we can make this homework
Yes.
for the first episode. Like you profile one person and I'll profile the other person, and then we'll come together and we'll discuss like what we thought and what we got from the episode, and then we can kind of use our real life experience on situations that we've experienced like that, or people that we know similar to those people, and strategies that we've learned like both in real life and from therapy.
Yeah, just best practices.
Best practices.
That sounds really, really good. And I think too, because we're talking about relationships, we can also talk about dating, which I think you said is going to be a big piece. So like if y'all have questions, you got a male perspective here.
Yeah, for sure. And after this episode comes out, before we record our episodes, I'm going to do a Q&A on my Instagram. You should do the same on your Instagram story. You should
Cool.
say, what are some questions that you guys have around relationships or dating that you would love to hear us talk about?
Yeah, especially
And
like positions from the opposite sex.
what type of positions?
the-
Get the fuck out of here.
Like talking points.
Absolutely
perspectives.
not those. Definitely not those. I'm just kidding. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being open to do this. This is a big leap.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate your perspective, and I like your outlook, and I like your ability to communicate. So I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of my friends in my gym class, we were talking about relationships and dating. She asked about my backstory, and I was like, look, I could share something with you. And so I shared her that perspective. And when we were hanging out with her last night playing trivia, and she's like her and two of her friends. And when she was talking about the episode, she was like, this is the most emotionally intelligent man I've ever met in my life. And I was like,
You need to meet more men.
I know. I was like, obviously you can't tell by the packaging here, but I was like, that was the biggest compliment. And I think so many
That
people.
is such a compliment, but you have no idea. These streets are rough. But also men, I talked about this in a previous episode that I was recording when you got here, is like men have continually been told that your feelings do not matter and that you should suppress them and you're not allowed to express them.
Here's the thing that I thought about literally last night with this, because this is super important. When you talk about, people say being in your masculine, okay? When I'm getting the best work out of myself, when I feel the most manly, the last thing I'm listening to is my feelings. Because it's like, man, this weight is heavy as fuck. I'm tired. And you're like, bro, you're fuck being tired.
Pick it up.
Lift the fucking weight.
Pussy.
Like, hey, I don't want to keep going. This is tough. Or, it's like when you want to quit or you don't want to keep going back to the job that you need to take so you can pay for your kid's school. Like, sometimes to be a man, the one thing that you have to leave is how you feel about the situation.
True.
And I think that's where a big aspect comes from. And then there's the piece that, like, no offense, not a lot of people have room for men's feelings.
That's true. And we should leave it there because that's where we need to pick up next time.
Yes.
I absolutely want to hear more about your perspective on that and like how a lot of men, maybe not all men, but how a lot of men feel regarding their feelings.
Yeah, and how we can navigate that.
For sure. Thanks for coming. Thank you for listening to this very scintillating episode of Big Girl Pants Podcast. I'm very excited for this series. If you have any questions or if there's any topics that you would like us to discuss, please send an email to biggirlpantspod@gmail.com or send me a DM on Instagram. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.